Well, with maintenance time on my pickup, I've been doing a little bit already on it. I pulled it in here and changed the oil and the oil filter, and then I lubed the drive shaft. Took it out for a little while and let my granddaughter work on her car in here, and then I turned it around and backed it in here so I could work on the front end of it. Well, this is a 2008 Dodge 2500 four-wheel drive with a 6.7 liter Cummins diesel engine in it. I bought this either January or February of 2009. And we've driven it quite a bit. I've got about 180,000 miles on it. I haven't driven it near as much the last year or so as I did before. We used to drive it down south quite a bit, but the ferry system the way it is now, it's just impractical to go off island. I had a 2003 Dodge 1500 with the first year of the Hemi engine in it. It's almost exactly the same truck except for a half-ton instead of a three-quarter ton and a short box instead of a long box that I traded for this one. So I bought it new in 2003 with the idea that I wanted a good pickup for driving on the highway. We put a canopy on the back of it, all the dogs around with us when we went south and stuff, to keep them closed in and contained and a nice shelter for them, and also to haul my fuel tank around with it in the summertime for my airplane. I didn't have any intention then of hauling anything heavy like I do now with this pickup. And I got that half-ton pickup with a Hemi in it because I thought it would be a nice, comfortable ride on the highway, and it would get good gas mileage. I got to reading a little bit of some stuff on the internet, and the guys that had the three-quarter tons and one-tons pickups with the diesel engines in them were actually getting better gas mileage than I was with that half-ton pickup with the gas engine. Some of those were saying they were getting better than 20 miles a gallon. Some of them said 25 miles a gallon. The best I could do with that half-ton pickup with a Hemi in it was 17. And around here, local driving, going out in the logging roads and stuff, I was getting about 14, 12 to 14. That kind of sold me on getting the bigger truck with a diesel engine in it, but that's not what made me sell the other pickup. A friend of mine had a brand new GMC pickup, and I went by his place one day, and he was replacing the brakes on the rear end of it. He had just a few more miles on his pickup than what I had on mine, so I decided it was time to check the brakes on them. And sure enough, my rear brakes were wore out. And that's something I didn't expect on the truck. It used to be that the front brakes always wore out before the rear brakes on any cars or trucks that I ever drove before. But with these new vehicles, with the disc brakes and the anti-lock brake system on the front end, it seems like the rear brakes wear out faster than the front brakes. So anyway, I went to rebuild my rear brakes, and when I got back there, that rear end was rusty. The parking brake was shot, was all rusted up. The axle housing had some pretty bad rust on it. Well, I decided rather than trying to fix it, I would just trade it off for a new pickup. We drove all over the coast of Washington and Oregon until I found the deal that I wanted on this pickup. And I haven't been sorry about that at all. This pickup definitely gets better gas mileage, better fuel mileage, I should say, than the other one did. It's not any less comfortable to drive on the highway than the half-ton pickup was. And I've got the long box on it, so it makes more room in there. So actually, when we put the dogs in there with the fuel tank in the back, it was more comfortable for them. But then I also started hauling trailers and stuff, and we got the Bobcat and the excavators and trailers, and I started hauling a lot of logs and a lot of gravel with a dump trailer. And I've made, I don't know, remember how many, 5 or 6 trips down south with it. We had a camper for it one winter, and we drove down through the western United States, down through Utah and California and Arizona. And then I've hauled 4 trailers up loaded with stuff from down south. But right now, what I'm going to work on is this front end. It's time to work on the front hubs. So it used to be pretty common to, as part of the maintenance on a vehicle, change the oil and lube the tie rods and the ball joints and the drive shaft and stuff like that. You'd also pull the hubs off the front end and clean and repack the front wheel bearings. Well, nowadays, all these new vehicles all have unit bearings on the front end. So they're maintenance free right up until the point where they go haywire. And that's anywhere from 70 to 100,000 miles. I had the left wheel bearing go out on me one time when I was out in the woods. It was not much fun limping back home at about 5 miles an hour for about 30 miles. But it would even be less fun if that happened to you on the freeway going at 70 miles an hour in a whole bunch of traffic. Instead of putting new unit bearing on there, I've got these new hubs, and they're lockout hubs, so you can unlock the front end. Normally on the Dodges, front end is locked all the time. And the way you shift it into and out of four-wheel drive is just with the shifter inside to turn the transfer case on or off. And all the old trucks and stuff used to have these locking front ends where you get out and turn the hubs and lock them in when you want to run four-wheel drive. Well, that made a big difference on this truck, on the handling of it. It gave me more mileage. I haven't been able to run it on the highway since I put these on. But around here, I've seen up to 20 miles a gallon, 21 miles a gallon here just locally, and out running on the logging roads, almost always about 18, 19 miles a gallon. Where before, running on the logging roads, slow speeds and stuff like that, I was running 17 miles a gallon, and on a highway, the best I could see would be 19. And like I said, I haven't run it on the highway, on the big highways or anything, but on the big highways, I was getting about 20. So I expect to get better than that now. But it made a big difference on the handling of the truck too. When it's not locked in, that front end turns a lot nicer and it's a lot smoother. It's a lot easier to drive. So these hubs have bearings in them. You can take them apart, clean, and repack the bearings. The ones I got are called Yukon hubs. They had a pretty good reputation, but I wouldn't recommend Yukon hubs again. The fit and finish on the inside of them just isn't what I would have expected. They're not near as good as the old hubs that you got off of Fords and Chevys and other types of hubs that I've used. They just don't fit together in there right, or the way they should. And of course, they've got nuts in there that take a special wrench. And instead of the hex head axle nuts, they've got sockets in them, or anyway, they take a different type of spanner, which you have to pay for extra. And anyway, they're a pain in the butt. I wouldn't recommend them again. But they work, and they're better than the unit hubs. So you can take them apart, clean them up, and repack the bearings. And that's what I'm going to do now. So the first thing I got to do is jack this side up, put a jack stand under it, and then we'll pull the wheel and then the hub off and clean up and repack the bearings on that. I got that tire and wheel off, and then I took the brake caliper off and the rotor off, and this is the hub here now. So there's 6 socket head cap screws on the end here that take this end cap off, and then there's of course a nut inside of there that holds everything on, that preloads the bearings and stuff. I could take that off now, but one of the things I've got to do is I've got a Zerk here on this ball joint. I've got grease fittings here on these tie rods and the lower ball joint, and then I've also got greasable universal joints here in this front axle, and you can see how dirty everything is on here. So before I take this thing off, I'm going to clean as much of this dirt off of here as possible, so dirt and crap don't fall in on the bearings in this hub once I get it off of there. Oh, it'd been snowing. Get a little bit of snow out there today. My son decided he wanted to use the Bobcat and plow the driveway a little bit. He got down the bottom of the hill and couldn't get back up. Had to get the chains out. But the other chains, I put the chains on the front yesterday. We had to chain up the other 2 wheels. Made a production out of that. Took a job that'd take about 10 minutes and made it into about a 45-minute job. But he got them on there now, and he's afraid to go down the hill in his car because the ground was froze up pretty hard, and we got the snow on there, and then it warmed up yesterday and kind of rained and wet snow and stuff, and so that's freezing to the ground and makes it really icy. Oh, now he's worried about going down the hill to the highway when he gets ready to leave. So I've got that pile of sand out there that we got this fall, last thing before it started snowing. So he's going to go out and scoop some of that on there and then take it down there and put it on the driveway. But anyway, I found a hex wrench to take these screws out of here on this end cap. And I don't know how many times I've done that by hand. And I got to thinking about it. I've got this impact driver, and I've got sockets for it. So what the heck? Why not use that? That's a heck of a lot faster. So that cap is off there now. And there's a lock ring right in here. I got to figure out how to get that out of there. And then there's a nut. I got to go get the special socket to go in there and get that nut out of there. Meanwhile, I'm going to go get some paper and stuff to lay this stuff on so it doesn't lay down in there. I scraped the dirt and whatnot off of this thing, then took a wire brush and cleaned it up, took the air, sprayed it off, got it cleaned up mostly, so it's a lot better than it was. Normally I like to take the pressure washer and get in there and kind of wash that all down before I bring it in here, but it was cold, too cold to use, or cold enough not to want to use it. Now usually I'll put newspaper down here to put all these parts on, keep them out of the dirt, but right now I've got this, it's like newspaper in a way, but it's packaging material that came out of those different packages that we've got. Well, I got to get the light on there. Instead of shining my eyes, I need to get the light shining on that so I can see what the heck I'm doing. There we go. There's that. There we go. There we go. Little cheap god dang snap ring is what holds this thing together. There he goes. Yeah. All right, now I got the nut in there, and I got to go find my special socket to fit in there to get that damn thing out of there. Get in there in the shop, looking for my tools where it's nice and warm. I'm not going to want to come out. All right, here's my special socket for taking those nuts out of there. You can see it's got little nipples on the end of it here. Well, the first time I went to use the doggone thing, take those out of there, those nipples just got all distorted, so I wound up having to, I thought about taking it back or getting another one, but I just took, there we go, took the welder and welded up some those nipples on them back up and ground them down to fit. So this thing, the nut, you don't necessarily want it really tight in there, but you have to torque it down to preload the bearings. And the way the shaft was on here, there, it's out. Oh yeah, there's a, what do we got in there now? And then we got another nut behind that. The bearings wouldn't hardly fit to seat on the axles. So it took a lot of pressure using that nut to get the bearings to seat on the axles all the way back where they're supposed to go. There we go. It was the same thing getting it apart. That inner bearing was locked up on the axle shaft, and I had to use a puller to get it off. I hate those stupid nuts. Oh, there, it's off. Okay. It's off now, so this thing should slide off of there. But it, yeah, there it goes. Okay. Actually, those grease on those looks pretty good. But I'll get them cleaned up and repacked with new grease. Get this side back together, and then I'll do the other side. I got that one hub all apart, and then I got called in to go to dinner. It was Thanksgiving dinner. My wife had fixed a couple of ducks she hatched last spring, and she roasted those. That was kind of our first experience with duck, at least domestic duck. We've had wild duck before, and the wild duck here in southeast Alaska tastes like crap because they eat in the salt water and they eat dead fish, and you think mallards would be pretty good, but they taste like crap around this country. Anyway, I went and had dinner. My son and my granddaughter, the duck was really good, and mincemeat pie, and that was really good. Well, I come back out, and I'm going to finish cleaning these parts up. I'm going to try something here. I've had a little ultrasonic cleaner we got at Harbor Freight for years, and I've used it for different things, and it works okay, but it's real small, and the timer on it only lasts for 4 minutes at a time, something like that. So I've got bigger parts to do a lot of times that I want to clean with the ultrasonic cleaner, maybe carburetors and stuff like that, and stuff that I can set in and put in and let it go for a while. So anyway, I bought this ultrasonic cleaner off of Amazon. It's on sale. I've had it for a while. I've never used it. Well, I thought I'd go ahead and try it, and I think it's supposed to hold like 5 gallons. But I'm disappointed in that. I've had it sitting in the soccer shed since I bought it, and there's been heat in there to keep the moisture down and stuff, but this is supposed to be stainless steel, and there is rust all over it. You can see rust spots in here, on the bottom, around the drain. Here on the bottom itself, there's rust spots on it, and all these screws got rusty. There's rust coming out of the vents on that thing. I've never used it. I've had it for 8 months or something like that. I think I bought it last winter. Like I said, it's been sitting in the soccer shed where I keep heat in there to keep it dry. But I'm going to try it anyway. I mean, that's pretty disappointing, but it is what it is. I don't know what else I can do about it. Maybe call Amazon and tell them or something. But anyway, this is a big parts bin, and I don't want to fill it up with solvent. I don't want to clean these parts in detergent, which is what a lot of people do. They clean it in detergent. And I use paint thinner. So anyway, I've taken all the parts, most of them that'll fit in here, and I've got this little, I don't know what that is, a couple quarts jug, plastic jug. I put paint thinner in there. I've heard that you can take these jugs like this and set it in there in the cleaner, and then fill the cleaner up with water, and then that'll transmit the ultrasonic into this thing, and then the water will take care of the ultrasonic stuff. So I got to go get a couple buckets of water and dump in there, and then I'll turn it on and let this stuff go. It's getting late now at 6 o'clock. I've been out here in the cold all day. I'm getting kind of chilly and tired, so I got a brand new shower to try out, so I'm going to go put this stuff in here and get this thing set up, and then I'm going to go out and try my new shower out and take it easy for the rest of the evening. Watch a movie with my wife. Oh, I got to go get some water first though. Well, I got water in there, not all the way up to the top. I've got my part in there in this jug right here. If theory holds, that'll ultrasonically clean those parts in that jug, and that way I've got paint thinner in there and just water over the rest of it, and that's warm water. We got warm water out of the kitchen. So this thing's supposed to have a heater in it. All of the reviews I saw on it said it took forever for it to heat up if you use cold water. Give that a try. Let that set here for a while. I think I said I wiped all the grease out of everything. I wiped it as clean as I could before I put it in there. I've still got the hub down there to clean up. I've wiped all the grease out of it. My fire really liked that. Paper towels with grease on it. So I've got to get some solvent and finish cleaning that out, and then put fresh grease in it. You always want to make sure and clean all of the grease out of these things when you do that, because There's two different types of grease, basic types of grease, not just brands or weight or anything like that, but there's two different types of grease. I forget what they are now. One of them's lithium based and the other one's something else based. But when you mix the two of them together, it actually creates a chemical reaction that can cause corrosion. Even though I'm using the same type of grease, the same grease as what I packed those bearings in last time I packed them, I'm still cleaning them out completely and making sure they're pristine. Sanitary, as one of my old mentors used to say, not just clean but sanitary. So I think that's it for tonight. I'll let that stuff cook off and I'll go do something else for a while.